Jackson's claws dug into Jesse's flesh as he dragged the battered human through the dense alien underbrush. Jesse Kennedy, renowned galactic hunter, had finally met his match in the fearsome Edosian predator. Jackson was infamous across the galaxy for his unparalleled strength, cunning, and ruthless efficiency. No prey had ever escaped his clutches alive. But rather than finish Jesse off, Jackson's curiosity was piqued by the human's advanced weapons, gear, and sheer tenacity in the face of certain death. He decided to keep Jesse alive as an exotic pet to study and learn from. Jesse fought against captivity with every ounce of his strength and ingenuity. He made several bold escape attempts, but Jackson's superior physical abilities and razor-sharp senses allowed him to easily thwart Jesse's efforts. As time passed, Jesse realized his only hope for survival was to play along with Jackson's whims and bide his time. While Jackson's prisoner, Jesse witnessed the Edosians' awe-inspiring hunting prowess, advanced tech, and intricate social hierarchy firsthand. He discovered that the Edosians had used their hunting mastery to dominate much of the known galaxy. However, their aggressive expansion had made them many powerful enemies. Tensions with other spacefaring races were nearing a breaking point. Worse still, the Edosians were bitterly divided amongst themselves. Rival clans vied for supremacy, and Jackson was caught in the middle of their power struggles. Some factions wanted to recruit Jackson as a valuable ally. Others saw him as a threat to be eliminated. Jesse soon recognized that his knowledge of other worlds could help Jackson navigate this treacherous political landscape. But Jesse also understood the terrible cost of aiding the Edosians in their conquest. It could lead to countless alien races being subjugated or destroyed, including many human frontier colonies. The fate of the galaxy itself hung in the balance. As Jesse contemplated his impossible choice, rumors of his capture by the legendary Jackson began to spread. Unknown forces with enigmatic agendas turned their attention to the human captive and his deadly Edosian master. The real hunt was only just beginning. As the days stretched into weeks, Jesse found himself falling into a strange routine as Jackson's captive. He used every opportunity to study the Edosians' advanced technology, especially their fearsome weapons and sensors. Jesse committed every detail to memory, dreaming of the day he could bring this knowledge back to help defend humanity's frontier colonies. Suddenly, their quasi-domestic life was interrupted when Jackson received a summons from Eidos Prime. As the Edosians' pet, Jesse had no choice but to accompany his captor to this gathering of clan leaders. Jesse's heart raced at this unexpected chance to learn more about Edosian society and politics. During the journey, Jesse met Zara, an Edosian scientist with a keen interest in humans. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she peppered Jesse with questions. Lowering her voice, Zara made a startling offer. She would help Jesse escape, but only if he agreed to take her with him. Jesse hesitated, unsure if he could trust her, but the prospect of freedom was too tempting to ignore. The gathering was a whirlwind of activity, with clan leaders making impassioned speeches and trading not-so-subtle threats. Jesse strained to overhear snatches of conversation, his blood running cold at whispers of conquering human colonies. The tensions simmering beneath the surface threatened to explode at any moment. That moment came during a ceremonial hunt when an assassin made an attempt on Supreme Clan leader Crox's life. Jackson leaped into action, shielding Crox but taking a grievous wound in the process. As Edosian warriors scattered in pursuit of the assassin, Jesse made a split-second decision. He knelt beside Jackson's bleeding form and said, "I can track them down. Let me prove my worth to you and your people." Something unreadable flickered in Jackson's eyes, but he nodded his assent. Armed with Edosian weapons and cloaking tech, Jesse set off into the dense jungle. His heart pounded as he realized this was his chance to sabotage the Edosians from within. But as he closed in on the assassin's hidden base, Jesse wrestled with the implications of his actions. If he succeeded, he would be drawn even deeper into Edosian politics and culture. But if he failed or tried to escape now, he might lose his best chance to undermine the Edosians and save countless human lives. With unbreakable spirit, Jesse shouldered his plasma rifle and slipped into the shadows of the assassin's lair, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Jesse crept through the shadows of the assassin's underground bunker, his senses on high alert. The weight of his decision pressed down on him like the humid alien jungle above. He had a chance to strike a blow against the Adocians. But at what cost? The secrets he could learn by remaining at Jackson's side might prove far more valuable in the long run. With a heavy heart, Jesse made his choice. He would stay with the Adocians for now, gathering intel on their plans and training their warriors while searching for any weakness he could exploit. It was a dangerous game, but one he was determined to win. Jackson's recovery was swift, thanks to the Adocians' advanced medical technology. Soon he was leading hunts across the galaxy once more, with Jesse at his side. They tracked down fearsome monsters and crushed rebel Adocian factions, their combined skills making them an unstoppable force. Tales of their exploits spread far and wide, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. But not all were content to sing the praises of the human hunter. Zoran, a brutal warlord from a rival clan, seethed with jealousy over Jesse's growing influence. In a bold move, he challenged Jesse to a series of trials by combat, intent on proving the human's unworthiness. Jackson was barred from interfering, leaving Jesse to face Zoran's champions alone. The battles were vicious, pushing Jesse to the limits of his endurance. He took gruesome wounds, but fought on with gritted teeth and unbreakable purpose. In the end, his quick wits and iron will saw him through, earning grudging nods of respect from the watching Adocian elites. As Jesse nursed his injuries, Zara brought him dire news. She had uncovered the existence of a doomsday weapon, a planet killer called the Nova Catalyst. The rival clans were locked in a deadly race to complete it first, each believing it would grant them total domination over the galaxy. Zara pleaded with Jesse to act, but he hesitated, torn between his bond with Jackson and his duty to protect the innocent. Before he could decide, all hell broke loose. A coalition of alien races, united in their hatred of the Adocians, launched a surprise attack on the clan summit. Plasma fire and sonic grenades tore through the Great Hall, scattering the assembled predators. In the chaos, a stray blast struck the Nova Catalyst, damaging its containment field. Alarms blared as the weapon became dangerously unstable, threatening to detonate and obliterate the entire star system. Jesse shared a grim look with Jackson as they took cover behind a crumbling pillar. They both knew what had to be done. The Adocian nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement of the trust that had grown between them. Then Jesse was moving, darting through the rubble and fallen bodies toward the heart of the Nova Catalyst. He had mere minutes to defuse the superweapon before it doomed billions to die. Yet even as he worked frantically to disable the device, Jesse's mind raced ahead. If he succeeded, he would have a chance to broker peace between the warring factions, to steer the Adocians away from a path of galactic conquest. It was a task that would require every ounce of his cunning and skill. But with the fate of so many hanging in the balance, failure was not an option. Sweat dripped into Jesse's eyes as he pried open the weapon's control panel, his hands shaking with exhaustion and the weight of his responsibility. Around him, the battle raged on, a deafening cacophony punctuated by screams and the crackle of energy weapons. He forced it all out, pouring his focus into the delicate circuitry before him. One wrong move could vaporize him and everyone else on the planet. But Jesse Kennedy had not come this far to let fear stop him now. With a final, precise adjustment, he disarmed the Nova Catalyst, its ominous hum fading away into silence. A ragged cheer went up from the Adocian lines as they realized what he had done. But even as relief washed over him, Jesse knew his work was far from finished. The battle against the alien coalition still hung in the balance, and the Adocians themselves remained bitterly divided. Somehow, he would have to find a way to unite them, to forge a lasting peace before their endless wars consumed the galaxy. Exhausted but determined, Jesse clambered to his feet, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With Jackson, Zara, and his hard-won knowledge of the Adocians at his side, he would not rest until the Nova Catalyst and its terrible destructive potential were forever dismantled. The fate of billions depended on him, and Jesse Kennedy had never been one to let innocents suffer when he had the power to act. No matter the consequences to himself, he would see this through to the end. The real struggle was only beginning. Jesse's fingers flew over the Nova Catalyst control panel, his mind racing faster than his hands. The ceasefire he'd brokered hung by a thread, with suspicious glances and twitchy trigger fingers on all sides. "We need to dismantle this thing," he announced, turning to face the assembled leaders. "It's the only way to build trust and move forward." Zoran's scaled face contorted in a snarl. "Absolutely not. We cannot give up our greatest weapon." Jackson stepped forward, his voice low and measured. "Think, Zoran. If that device detonates, your clan dies with the rest of us. Is that the legacy you want?" A tense silence followed, broken only by the ominous hum of the damaged Nova catalyst. Finally, Zoran's shoulders sagged. "Fine, but I want my best engineers involved." Jesse nodded, already assembling the joint team in his mind. As they set to work, alarms blared throughout the complex. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Morsk's separatist forces swarmed in. "Protect the Nova catalyst!" Jackson roared, unsheathing his claws. But it was too late. Morsk's fanatics had planned well, overwhelming the defenders with sheer numbers and fanatical dedication. Jesse watched in horror as the separatist reactivated the weapon, its pulsing core growing brighter by the second. "Fall back!" he shouted, grabbing Zara's arm and dragging her toward the reactor core. Jackson and a handful of others followed, sealing the blast doors behind them. Inside the humming chamber, Jesse's mind raced. Conventional methods wouldn't work. They needed something drastic. "We can create a controlled singularity," he said, already moving toward the main console. "Implode the Nova catalyst from within." Jackson's eyes widened. "The blast could still destroy everything." "It's our only shot," Jesse countered, fingers flying over the controls. "Trust me." Outside, they could hear Morsk's triumphant voice as he prepared to unleash devastation on the Allied fleet. Jesse's hands shook as he input the final commands, praying his calculations were correct. A blinding flash erupted from the Nova catalyst's core. For a heart-stopping moment, Jesse thought he'd failed. Then, with a deafening roar, the weapon collapsed in on itself, vanishing into a pinprick of impossible darkness. The shockwave rocked the station, throwing them all to the ground. As the dust settled, Jesse staggered to his feet, hardly daring to believe they'd survived. Zara's voice crackled over the comms. "Jesse, you did it! Morsk's ship is crippled, and the coalition is moving in." Relief washed over him, but Jesse knew the real work was just beginning. As they emerged from the ruined chamber, he saw the assembled leaders, Adoshan, human, and a dozen alien races, looking to him with newfound respect. Supreme Leader Croc stepped forward. "It seems we owe you a great debt, Jesse Kennedy. Perhaps you would be willing to assist in our peace negotiations." Jesse nodded, exhausted but resolute. As the talks began, Zara pulled him aside, her eyes wide with worry. "There's something you need to see," she whispered, handing him a data pad. Evidence about who was really behind Morsk's uprising. Jesse's blood ran cold as he scanned the information. The Gorlan Empire. A name whispered in fear across the galaxy. If they were involved, this conflict was just getting started. He looked up, meeting Jackson's knowing gaze across the room. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Jesse's mind reeled as he processed the information on Zara's datapad. The Gorlan Empire's involvement changed everything. He looked up to see Jackson striding towards him, his reptilian features set in dogged willpower. "You've seen it then," Jackson said, his voice low. "This goes beyond clan rivalries now." Before Jesse could respond, Supreme Leader Crox's imposing form loomed over them. "Jesse Kennedy," he rumbled, "your actions today have saved countless lives. We would be honored if you would join the newly formed Galactic Council to help forge lasting peace." Jesse blinked, caught off guard by the offer. His thoughts turned to Earth, to the life he'd left behind. But as he scanned the room, taking in the diverse array of species now looking to him with hope and respect, he felt the weight of a new responsibility settling on his shoulders. I'm honored," Jesse began, but alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive fleet of sleek, predatory ships emerging from hyperspace. "Gorlan battlecruisers," an analyst shouted. "They're launching simultaneous attacks across multiple sectors." Crox's eyes narrowed. "So it begins," he growled. "To the war room, all of you." As they hurried through the station's corridors, Jesse's mind raced. He'd studied Earth's military history extensively, and now those lessons crystallized into a daring plan. In the war room, holograms showed planet after planet falling to the Gorlan onslaught. Jesse stepped forward, his voice cutting through the panicked chatter. "We need to unite the clans," he declared. "Form an elite strike force under joint Idosian and human leadership. Hit-and-run tactics, guerrilla warfare. We'll bleed them dry." Zoran snarled, baring razor-sharp teeth. "And put you in charge! Never!" Jackson's tail lashed out, faster than the eye could follow. It stopped a hair's breadth from Zoran's throat. "Your jealousy blinds you," Jackson hissed. "Jesse has proven himself time and again. I stand with him." One by one, the other clan leaders voiced their support. Zoran's shoulders slumped in defeat. Jesse wasted no time. He threw himself into training the Idosians, pushing them to their limits and beyond. Human ingenuity merged with Idosian strength and speed, creating a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Weeks later, Jesse stood on the bridge of a cloaked Idosian warship, studying the swirling storm clouds of Centauri 5 below. Beside him, Jackson flexed his claws in anticipation. "You're sure this will work?" Jackson asked, a note of concern in his usually confident voice. Jesse nodded, double-checking his gear. "It has to. While we take out their defenses here, the real assault hits their homeworld. They'll never see it coming." The ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Jesse took a deep breath, steadying himself for the brutal fight ahead. As the bay doors opened, revealing the sprawling Gorlan stronghold below, he shared a final look with Jackson. No words were needed. They leapt into the howling wind, plummeting towards their target with deadly purpose. The fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance, and Jesse Kennedy was ready to write the next chapter in this cosmic war. Jesse's heart pounded as the cloaked Gorlan stealth ship sliced through Kravath's atmosphere. Beside him, Jackson's scales rippled with tension. The rest of their strike team, a mix of battle-hardened Idosians and human special forces, checked their gear one final time. "Approaching drop zone," the pilot's voice crackled over the comm. "Stand by for deployment." Jesse nodded to Jackson. "Just like we practiced. Hit hard, hit fast." The bay doors hissed open, revealing the sprawling Gorlan capital below. Jesse leapt first, his armored exosuit cutting through the air as he plummeted towards Krathax's subterranean command bunker. The rest of the team followed, silent shadows against the night sky. They hit the ground running, plasma bolts sizzling past as Gorlan sentries raised the alarm. Jesse's suit's targeting systems highlighted weak points in the bunker's defenses. He fired a series of precise shots, clearing a path for the squad. "Move!" he barked, leading the charge into the complex. Inside, they faced a gauntlet of automated turrets and fanatical Gorlan defenders. Jesse's mind raced, processing tactical data and issuing commands. Idosian warriors unleashed their primal fury, while human operatives provided pinpoint suppressing fire. They fought their way down, level by level, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Jesse's suit registered multiple impacts, but the advanced armor held. He grit his teeth against the pain, pushing forward. Finally, they reached the reactor core, a pulsing orb of barely contained energy. Jesse's fingers flew over the control panel, inputting override codes as Jackson covered him. "We don't have much time," Jackson growled, his claws tearing through a Gorlan who got too close. "Their reinforcements are inbound." Jesse nodded, sweat stinging his eyes as he worked. With a final command, he triggered the core venting sequence. Superheated plasma erupted from exhaust ports, flooding the surrounding chambers. "Fall back!" Jesse shouted as the electromagnetic pulse built. They sprinted for the exit, the pursuing Gorlan cut off by walls of searing energy. Outside, Jesse watched with grim satisfaction as the pulse rippled outward, disabling defense grids across the city. Almost immediately, Allied bombers appeared in the sky, their payloads streaking towards now vulnerable targets. "The landing zones are clear," Jesse reported over the comm. "Bring in the ground forces." What followed was chaos incarnate. Gorlan and allied armies clashed in the streets of the capital, energy weapons and explosions lighting up the night. Jesse led his team through the carnage, carving a path towards Krathax's War Council chambers. A Gorlan artillery blast caught them off guard. Jesse was thrown back, his suit's alarms blaring. Through the ringing in his ears, he heard Jackson's roar of pain. "Jackson!" Jesse scrambled to his feet, finding his friend pinned beneath fallen debris. Blood oozed from a gash in Jackson's side. "Leave me!" Jackson hissed through clenched teeth. "Complete the mission!" Jesse shook his head, already calling for a medic. "Not happening, partner." Once Jackson was stabilized, Jesse pressed on with the remaining team. They fought their way into Krathax's inner sanctum, facing waves of cybernetically enhanced Praetorian guards. And then, there he was. Krathax loomed before them, encased in a monstrous warsuit that crackled with energy. Jesse's suit sensors went haywire, struggling to process the readings from the singularity reactor powering the Gorlan overlord. "Foolish human," Krathax's voice boomed, distorted by his mechanical shell. "You cannot hope to defeat me." Jesse raised his weapon, mind racing as he analyzed the suit's defenses. "We'll see about that." The battle that followed pushed Jesse to his absolute limits. Krathax was nearly invincible, shrugging off attacks that would have vaporized lesser foes. But Jesse noticed something. Fluctuations in the containment field each time Krathax unleashed a powerful attack. He formulated a desperate plan. "All units, focus fire on his primary weapon ports," Jesse ordered, dodging a blast that left a smoking crater in the floor. As Krathax prepared another devastating salvo, Jesse sprinted forward. He slammed an EMP grenade directly into one of the exposed weapon ports, then dove for cover. The resulting explosion was cataclysmic. Krathax's scream of fury turned to one of terror as the singularity reactor lost containment. Jesse watched in awe as the Gorlan overlord imploded, collapsing into an infinitesimal point of light before vanishing entirely. Silence fell over the war-torn chamber. Jesse staggered to his feet, hardly daring to believe what had just happened. He keyed his comm, voice hoarse with exhaustion. "Krathax is down. I repeat, Krathax is neutralized." Cheers erupted over the channel as the news spread. Outside, the sounds of battle began to fade as Gorlan resistance crumbled. Jesse allowed himself a moment of relief before refocusing. "Get me a secure line to command," he ordered, "and I need a status update on Jackson." As reports flooded in of Allied victories across Kravath, Jesse's thoughts turned to the challenges that lay ahead. They had won a pivotal battle, but the war was nowhere near the end. The galaxy would need rebuilding, and Earth would have to find its place in this new interstellar community. Jesse smiled grimly. Whatever came next, he was ready to face it. The dust settled on Kravath, but for Jesse Kennedy, the real work was just beginning. In the months that followed, he found himself at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, strategy sessions, and rebuilding efforts across the liberated systems. On a crisp morning on the newly christened Concordance Station, Jesse stood before the assembled representatives of 100 worlds. The cavernous chamber hummed with anticipation as he took the podium. "Today we forge a new path," Jesse began, his voice carrying across the hall. "The United Galactic Concordance will stand as a beacon of cooperation and strength." As applause filled the air, Jesse caught Jackson's approving nod from the Adoshan delegation. A flood of proposals and debates followed, stretching long into the night. When the session finally adjourned, Supreme Leader Crocs approached Jesse with a gleam in his multifaceted eyes. "An impressive showing, Jesse Kennedy," Crocs rumbled. "The Council has reached a unanimous decision. We would be honored if you would accept the position of Prime Counselor." Jesse's mind reeled at the implications. Before he could formulate a response, alarms blared throughout the station. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing explosions tearing through Allied outposts across multiple sectors. "Zenri strikes," an analyst shouted. "They're hitting our key supply depots and communication relays." Jesse's comlink chirped urgently. Zara's voice crackled through, tense with worry. "Jesse, you need to get to a secure location. We've intercepted chatter about a potential assassination." Her words cut off as the lights in the chamber flickered and died. Jesse's combat instincts kicked in. He dropped low, pulling Crocs down with him, as a high-energy bolt sizzled through the air where he'd been standing. Chaos erupted as security forces engaged the infiltrators. Jesse caught glimpses of shadowy figures moving with inhuman speed. He activated his armor's emergency beacon, praying reinforcements would arrive in time. A familiar roar cut through the din. Jackson burst into view, his claws a blur as he tore through two assassins. The Adosian's eyes locked onto a fleeing figure, and he gave chase with predatory focus. Jesse fought his way to a defensible position, coordinating with the station's security through short-range comms. After what felt like hours, the last of the attackers were subdued or driven off. As the emergency lighting flickered back to life, Jackson returned. He dragged a battered, struggling form behind him. "Look who I found!" Jackson growled, throwing the captive to the ground. Jesse's eyes widened in shock as he recognized the scarred face of Zoran, the Adosian clan leader who had once sought his destruction. "Why?" Jesse demanded, his voice hard with anger and betrayal. Zoran spat blood, his eyes burning with hatred. "The Zenri promised me power beyond your wildest dreams. They showed me the truth. Your precious concordance is built on lies." Before Jesse could press further, Zoran's body convulsed. Foam bubbled from his mouth as some hidden poison took effect. Within moments, he lay still. In the days that followed, the attacks continued. Jesse threw himself into the role of crisis management, coordinating defense efforts and relief missions. But with each Zenri strike, the fragile trust between allied worlds began to fray. During a tense war council, Jesse made his decision. He stood silencing the bickering delegates with a raised hand. "This ends now," he declared. "We take the fight to the Zenri. I'll lead a strike team to their base on Sivath." Jackson stepped forward, baring his teeth in a fierce grin. "I'm with you." The mission to Sivath pushed Jesse and his team to their limits. They battled through automated defenses and fanatical cultists, only to find the Zenri leadership had already fled. But the data they recovered from the moon's computers revealed a threat beyond imagining. As their ship raced back to Allied space, Jesse studied the holographic display showing their next target, the dead world of Vorn. His teeth gritted as he contemplated the horrors that awaited them there. "What are we dealing with?" Jackson asked, his voice low. Jesse met his friend's gaze, his eyes haunted. "Something older than time itself. And if we don't stop the Zenri from waking it, everything we fought for will be consumed." Jesse's eyes snapped open as their ship dropped out of hyperspace, Vorn's dead gray orb filling the view screen. Hundreds of Allied vessels materialized alongside them, forming a filled armada against the looming Zenri fleet. "All units, prepare for engagement," Jesse's voice crackled over the comm. He turned to Jackson, the Adosian's scales rippling with anticipation. "Ready to make history, partner?" Jackson bared his teeth in a fierce grin. "Born ready." The space between the fleets erupted in a dazzling light show as energy weapons and missiles streaked back and forth. Jesse's dropship plunged into the maelstrom, weaving through the chaos as Zenri interceptors gave chase. 30 seconds to insertion," the pilot announced, her voice steady despite the G-forces slamming them around. Jesse ran through final equipment checks with his strike team, a mix of hardened human operatives and Adosian hunters. Zara's fingers flew over her hollow interface, prepping the tech needed to counter Zenri reality manipulation. The dropship bucked as it hit Vorn's upper atmosphere. Through the viewport, Jesse glimpsed strange, twisting geometries rippling across the barren landscape. His stomach lurched, a primal part of his brain recoiling from the wrongness of it. "Go, go, go!" They hit the ground running, plasma bolts sizzling past as Zenri defenders opened fire. Jesse's HUD lit up with tactical data, highlighting kill zones and optimal routes of advance. He barked orders, coordinating their push towards the distant sealing site. A Zenri warrior leapt from cover, its form shifting and blurring as reality warped around it. Before Jesse could react, Jackson was there. The Adosian's claws tore through the attack, rending armor and flesh alike. "Thanks for the save," Jesse panted. Jackson nodded grimly. Someone's got to watch your back. They pressed forward, fighting through waves of increasingly twisted Zenri. Jesse's mind raced, processing the ebb and flow of battle while issuing rapid-fire commands to allied units across the planet's surface. Finally, they reached the sealing site. Towering monoliths of impossible geometry pulsed with eldritch energy. Zenri cultists chanted in sanity-shredding tongues, their ritual nearing completion. "Zara, we need that tech online now," Jesse shouted over the din of battle. The cyberneticist's fingers danced across her interface. "Working on it. These encryption protocols are like nothing I've ever... Got it." A shimmering field enveloped their position. Jesse felt his thoughts clarify as Zara's countermeasures pushed back against the Zenri's reality distortions. "All units converge on the sealing site," he ordered. "We hold this position at all costs." What followed was a nightmare of violence and madness. For every seal they managed to relock, the Zenri shattered 2 more. Jesse watched in horror as cracks spread across the sky itself, glimpsing things that should not be through the widening fissures. A deafening roar shook the battlefield. Jesse's comlink crackled to life, Crox's voice strained but resolute. "This is Supreme Counselor Crox. Our position is overrun. I'm initiating core meltdown. May our sacrifice buy you the time you need, for the Concordance." The sky lit up as Crox's flagship detonated in a blinding flare of electromagnetic energy. The Zenri's reality engines faltered, their chanting silenced. "Now," Jesse bellowed, "overload the stabilizers!" Zara's team worked feverishly, bypassing fail-safes and rerouting power. The ground beneath them began to shake. "It's working," Zara shouted. "The entity's being resealed." A wave of force exploded outward from the monoliths. Jesse was thrown back, his armor barely absorbing the impact. As the dust settled, he staggered to his feet, surveying the carnage around them. The comm crackled with reports of Allied casualties. Jesse's heart sank as the numbers climbed. They'd won, but at a terrible cost. A piercing alarm cut through Jesse's thoughts. He turned to see Zara's face pale with horror. "It's not over," she whispered. "The entity, it's still awakening. Slower now, but we've only bought ourselves time." Jesse's mind raced through options, each bleaker than the last. He met Jackson's eyes, seeing his own grim realization mirrored there. "We have to go in," Jesse said quietly. "You and me. It's the only way to end this for good." Jackson nodded, his scales rippling with commitment. "Together then, as always." They made their way to a hastily erected command post, briefing the surviving Allied leaders on the situation. Shock and disbelief gave way to solemn acceptance as the full weight of their choice sank in. "The symbiosis process is untested," Zara warned, her voice thick with worry. "The strain could kill you before you even breach the cosmic prison." Jesse managed a wry smile. "No riskier than anything else we've done lately." As the technomystics began their arcane preparations, Jesse found a quiet moment with Jackson. "Hell of a ride, eh, partner?" Jesse said softly. Jackson's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Wouldn't have missed it for all the worlds in the galaxy." A sharp crackle of energy interrupted them. The symbiosis chamber pulsed with otherworldly light, ready to fuse their essences for the perilous journey ahead. Jesse took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "All right, big guy, let's go kill a god." "God," Jesse finished as he and Jackson stepped into the pulsing chamber. The world dissolved into a kaleidoscope of sensations. Jesse felt his consciousness stretch and intertwine with Jackson's, their very essences fusing into something greater than the sum of its parts. When the maelstrom subsided, they stood as a single entity, part human, part Edosian, wholly unique. They breached the cosmic prison's barriers, reality fracturing around them like shattered glass. The world beyond defied comprehension, vast expanses of nothingness punctuated by fragments of existence, planets, stars, entire civilizations flickering in and out of being like fevered hallucinations. "By the first egg," Jackson's voice echoed in their shared mind. "What madness is this?" Jesse's strategic instincts kicked in, analyzing the ever-shifting landscape. "We need to keep moving, stay focused on our goal." They pushed forward, navigating treacherous geometries that seemed to twist and fold in on themselves. Ghostly whispers brushed against their consciousness, the remnants of those who came before. "Turn back," a disembodied voice hissed. "Oblivion awaits." Another, barely more than a psychic whimper. "It sees all. It knows all. There is no escape." Jesse felt Jackson's primal instincts surge, urging them to flee. He countered with iron commitment, channeling their shared will into pressing onward. Suddenly the void before them rippled. 3 Zenri manifested, their forms warped beyond recognition. Jesse Jackson reacted instantly, channeling Idosian strength through human precision. They lashed out with reality-warping energies, severing the Zenri's anchors to the material plane. The abominations shrieked as they unraveled, their essences scattered to the cosmic winds. Jesse Jackson pushed forward, relentless in their advance. They came upon a monstrous structure, a hideous amalgamation of planetary cores fused into a pulsating, organic mass. Steeling themselves, they plunged into its depths. At the heart of the cosmic abomination, they found it, the entity. Words failed to capture its essence. It was vastness given form, hunger made manifest. Countless eyes regarded them with alien malevolence as writhing tendrils lashed out. Jesse felt their symbiosis begin to unravel under the entity's presence. They had moments, at best. "We can't beat it," Jackson's thoughts raced. "It's too vast, too powerful." "Then we don't fight it," Jesse countered. "We trap it." Understanding flowed between them. They turned and fled, weaving through a maze of singularities and artificial realities. The entity pursued, its infinite hunger driving it onward. With precise timing honed by Jesse's tactics and Jackson's hunting instincts, they collapsed the singularities. Space-time folded in on itself, compressing the entity into an infinitesimal point. "Now!" Jesse Jackson cried out in unison. They activated the rift, banishing the anomaly to a realm beyond comprehension. Silence fell. The cosmic prison shuddered and began to dissolve around them. As reality reasserted itself, Jesse felt the symbiosis slipping away. He reached out, grasping for Jackson's fading presence. They materialized on Vorn's surface, separate once more. But something was wrong. Jesse's hand passed through a nearby rock. Jackson's form flickered like a faulty hologram. "What's happening to us?" Jackson growled, fear edging his voice. Jesse looked down at his own translucent form. "We're untethered," he realized, cutting the entity's anchors. It affected us too. Around them, Allied forces cheered their victory. But Jesse and Jackson stood apart, their very existence now unmoored from linear time and space. As the implications sank in, Jesse met his friend's eyes. "What now?" Jackson asked. Before Jesse could answer, he felt a strange pull. The world around them began to blur, reality itself seeming to stretch and warp. Whatever came next, it was clear their journey was just getting started. The familiar contours of Vorn's surface melted away, replaced by a kaleidoscopic swirl of realities. Jesse felt himself stretched across dimensions, his consciousness expanding beyond the confines of linear time and space. "Jackson!" he called out, reaching for his friend's essence. Their forms intertwined once more, not through technological symbiosis, but as beings of pure energy and thought. Eons passed in heartbeats. Civilizations rose and fell before their eyes. Stars ignited and burned out in cosmic instants. Jesse and Jackson drifted through it all, their very existence now unbound from the physical laws that once governed them. "We've become something else." Jackson's thoughts resonated through their shared consciousness. Jesse focused, willing himself to manifest a semblance of his former shape. For a moment, he appeared as a ghostly outline of the human he once was. But the effort proved fleeting, his form dissolving back into pure energy. "We're beyond physicality now," Jesse realized, "but our purpose remains." They sensed a disturbance rippling through the fabric of reality. A malevolent presence, vast and insidious, threaded its way through the cosmos. Jesse and Jackson's hunting instincts, honed across 2 lifetimes and species, surged to the forefront of their joined consciousness. They pursued the anomaly, traversing light years in mere thought. They found themselves hovering above a planet consumed by writhing geometric patterns. The world's surface pulsed with sickly light, its digital infrastructure overrun by something that defied classification. A mind virus, Jesse analyzed, his tactical awareness expanding to encompass the infected world. It's consuming everything. Jackson's predatory instincts flared. Then we hunt! They plunged into the planet's corrupted data streams. The virus entities swarmed around them, a cacophony of malformed code and fractured consciousnesses. Jesse and Jackson's combined will lashed out, severing neural pathways and collapsing infected nodes. The battle raged across quantum fields and virtual landscapes. Jesse's strategic mind guided their attacks, while Jackson's ferocity tore through the virus's defenses. They became a force of nature, a cosmic immune response purging the infection. With a final cataclysmic surge of willpower, they shattered the virus's core consciousness. The infected world shuddered, its corrupted systems crashing in a cascading wave of zeros and ones. As the digital echoes faded, Jesse and Jackson turned their cosmic gaze outward once more. The universe stretched before them, filled with wonders and horrors beyond mortal comprehension. We are the hunters now. Jesse's thoughts resonated through their shared being. Guardians of reality itself. Jackson's essence pulsed with fierce agreement. Then let the hunt begin. They surged forward, two souls united in purpose, ready to face whatever threats lurked in the vast cosmic wilderness. Their legend was only beginning to unfold across the tapestry of existence.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.